But I really truly believe there is going to be a team in Europe, and London is probably the most likely city right now.
Hallo und herzlich willkommen zu Part 2 unserer Jubiläumsfolge Nummer 200. Mein Name ist Luca und bei mir ist Simon.
Hallo, guten Tag.
Pass auf, das Ganze jetzt hier findet statt am Donnerstag, an dem Tag, an dem die Folge auch rauskommt. Wie schon gesagt, das ist Part 2, denn uns wurde ja schon damals also eigentlich genau vor einem Jahr nahegelegt, wenn ihr denn dann 200 macht, also ab Folge 200, dann müsst ihr dann aber auch einen Special Guest holen, weil ich glaube, Mike Lombardi war 150, ne? Auf jeden Fall um den Dreh rum.
Ja.
Ist auch egal. Auf jeden Fall haben wir uns Ewigkeiten Gedanken gemacht, was natürlich auch machbar ist. Jetzt anstelle 200. Und ja, durch einen glücklichen Zufall haben wir Jeff Reinbold für uns gewinnen können. Allerdings nur eine halbe Stunde. Das ist ein bisschen schade gewesen. Aber er hat schon gesagt, er wird nochmal am Start sein. Das Ding war auch, dass das ganze Jahr zeitlich ein bisschen schief gelaufen ist. Der Simon hatte abends noch einen Termin. Wir hatten die Folge für eine Stunde angesetzt eigentlich. Und er hat das Ganze dann eine Stunde nach hinten verschoben. Entsprechend konnte der Simon nicht. Entsprechend haben wir eine Premiere mit das erste Mal einem Co-Host, der von extern kommt, und zwar Michael McQuaid. Broncos-Fans unter euch werden ihn vielleicht kennen als den Gründer von Broncos Europe, beziehungsweise auch die Irish NFL Show. Aber ja, zu Jeff Reinbold an sich also du hast die Folge ja schon gehört, Simon, ne?
Ja.
Ja, habe ich das Ganze ja schon mal
quasi, also Live-Reaction ist es nicht, aber Instant Reaction. Ich habe es mir heute Morgen angehört.
Ja.
Auf dem Weg nach Hause.
Und wie war's?
In Ordnung. Also nee, war sehr geil. War mega unterhaltsam, ziemlich flüssig. Alles. Der Jeff scheint ein cooler Typ zu sein. Hatte einige Takes. Ich meine, wir hatten die Vorbereitung ja so ein bisschen zusammen, oder wir hatten eine Vorbereitung ja zusammen gemacht und jedes Mal halt insbesondere bei englischen Gästen ein bisschen umfangreicher. Also geskriptet jetzt nicht zwangsläufig, weil das wurde ja sowieso so ein bisschen über den Haufen geworfen, aufgrund der Längenthematik, dass wir nur eine halbe Stunde hatten. Und lustigerweise haben wir trotzdem alles unterbekommen, was wir uns so vorgenommen haben, mit Ausnahme von vielleicht ein, zwei extra Fragen. Aber unser Main-Programm, was wir durchziehen wollten, war auch alles drin. Also das war auch meine erste Reaktion, als ich das dann gehört hatte. Okay, ich dachte, ist ja alles drin. Da hatte ich jetzt nochmal in die Notizen geguckt, jetzt bevor wir jetzt aufnehmen, und passte tatsächlich. Also NFL Europe, Football allgemein, ein bisschen was über ihn. Das waren so die ganz wesentlichen Themen oder sind die ganz wesentlichen Themen, die ihr jetzt gleich hören dürft. Und sehr unterhaltsam. Wie bisher bei allen unseren Gästen, wo wir echt Glück hatten, gestaltet sich die Konversation da irgendwie fast von alleine, was echt gut war.
Ja, definitiv. Also an der Stelle seien auch nochmal dran erinnert, ihr findet alle von Jeffs Sachen, Twitter, seine Show, die Michael übrigens produziert, alles in der Beschreibung. Lohnt sich da reinzuhören. Ich glaube, dass er sogar, also er hat, für die ihn nicht kennen, sagen wir mal so, in NFL Europe, also gut, aber zumindest hat ein World Bowl, glaube ich, gewonnen, damit mit Galen Hall. Aktuell ist natürlich in der Canadian Football League, sprechen wir gleich auch an, aber er ist halt super, also ist einfach ein super Gesprächspartner. Ich meine, vielleicht, na gut, wahrscheinlich weniger, aber wer zum Beispiel Sky UK verfolgt, da ist er als Analyst am Start, auch meistens beim Super Bowl. Und der Typ hat einfach ein unglaubliches Wissen, wie halt viele Coaches. Und das sind halt diese Folgen. Wir haben das in Part 1 besprochen. Wenn du den mit dem dich unterhältst, also das gibt dir alles. Also wir haben kurz davor noch ein bisschen gesprochen, war absolut tolles Erlebnis. Ich hoffe, euch gefällt die Folge. Ist natürlich auf Englisch. Obwohl er aus seiner Zeit aus Düsseldorf noch ein bisschen Deutsch spricht, lässt er auch gleich noch 1-2 Mal anklingen. Aber ja, dann wünschen wir euch jetzt viel Spaß damit und hören uns nächste Woche mit der AFC, oder auch schon am Sonntag, ist ja schon in 4 Tagen. 1, 2, 3 Tagen mit der AFC West. Alright, today I'm honored to welcome 2 guests for part 2 of our 200th episode. We have Michael McQuaid, host of the Irish NFL show and also founder of Broncos Europe, who will act as my co-host today. And also, as a special celebratory guest, we are pleased to welcome Jeff Reinbold. Jeff currently works as the special teams coordinator with the Hamilton Tigers, if I'm correct, in the CFL, and also frequently features on Sky Sports UK as an analyst. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Michael. Welcome to the Cover 2 podcast.
Wie geht es?
Starting off with the German. Great.
Ja, so, mein Mann.
I feel really bad. I can't speak German now, so I want to apologize. But thank you, Jeff, for showing me up, and it's an honor. And congratulations on your 200th episode.
Yes, thank you. Jeff, please tell us a bit about yourself. Have I missed anything with your introduction?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I've been what I am is a guy that's been really, really lucky to have had a long career in pro football and had a great opportunity to do a lot of things. One of the highlights of my career was the time I spent in Germany as part of NFL Europe when I coached for the Rheinfire. And then later as I went to the Amsterdam Admirals, but stayed involved in the International Player Development Program, and we're the guys that got Sebastian Vollmer out of a swimming pool and taught him football and turned him into a Pro Bowl player and a Super Bowl champion. So it's been a long, wonderful ride.
That's great to hear. In this episode, we want to talk a bit about your perspective on the game as a coach, and also, as this is an NFL podcast, touch on some topics like their plans and development in Europe, as you've experienced all this with the NFL Europe. And maybe if we have some time, let's talk about some parts of the upcoming season.
Yep.
Let's start with a topic we previously discussed with Wade Phillips, who we had the chance to talk to last off-season. He was the only other coach we had on the podcast so far. And with him, we had a huge discussion about the relations of culture and talent in order to generate success. What's your take on that? Is there one you put emphasis on?
Well, I think it really comes down to this, and this is what Coach Vermeil used to say, and he is the guy that has had the greatest influence on my coaching career, and certainly Wade is a I consider him a friend, and actually we're involved in writing a book together. But I think the first thing you got to understand, the higher level of football you go, the more important it is that you have talent. You have to have the talent to play the game at the highest level. If we're talking about pro football, it really is the number one thing. Now, beyond that is when you refer to what you refer to as culture, and that is, to me, the environment that's created around the talent that you have and allows that talent to function at its highest level. There's a lot of things that go into that. It's a very slippery word because everybody uses it. It's an overused word, but it certainly is developed on a day-to-day basis. It's a great football team culture is very hard to develop, and it's very easy to lose because it's based upon trust. And we say to our players all the time, and we're just about ready to start training camp in a couple days. And the number one thing we want to develop in training camp, is our schemes, obviously, and their talent and their techniques and all of that. But it's our overall team culture and our team trust. And that's only developed, it's just like in any relationship between you and your wife or you and your friends or whatever. It's when you go through hard times and, you hang together. And that's how trust is built.
Jeff, I've had the honor of chatting with you and working with you now for, I think, around 68 months. But I think the thing that really surprised me over that time was your experience and the memories that you've either told me or guests about your time with NFL Europe in the early 2000s. Obviously, the game is very popular in Germany, but do you have like a favorite coaching story or a favorite memory from your time in the NFL Europe office? I've definitely heard a couple anyway.
It's amazing that as we've had those guys on our podcast, and Michael and I do a podcast every week that you can get on Apple iTunes, YouTube, my Twitter account, which is Jeff_Reinbold, and it's really turned into a big thing because it's turned into a worldwide podcast. And as the guests come on, whether it's a guy like Sebastian Vollmer or Nick Ferguson or any of the guys we've had on that had an NFL Europe experience or a European experience with American football, it's just amazing the impression that was left on those guys of that experience. For Nick, who became a 9-year NFL veteran, had it not been for NFL Europe, he never would have gotten to the NFL because he was cut 3 times before he eventually made the Buffalo Bills under Wade Phillips as a practice roster player, and then was plucked off the practice roster and went to the Jets, then went to the Broncos, then finished his career with the Texans. But his 2 years with the Rheinfire really changed his life. And there were a number of guys that, I could tell you were very much the same. Byron Chamberlain, who we had on our show, who has 2 Super Bowl rings with the Denver Broncos, his ability to make the position switch from receiver to tight end was, really dependent upon his 1 year with the Rheinfire under Galen Hall, where the Broncos sent him to us and said, make this guy not a big receiver. We want him to be a tight end. And we were able to get that done. He led the league in pass receptions and went on and had a Pro Bowl career in the NFL. So obviously that time in Europe was really, really special. And it was even more special because we were bringing something different to, they had never had pro football in Düsseldorf. They'd never had it in Amsterdam. They'd never had it in Berlin. They'd never had it in Hamburg. Obviously it was a big, big thing to bring the pro game and the NFL game to a country, and I'm talking about Germany right now, that it was amazing going to Frankfurt to play in the World Bowl, and there'll be 50,000 people. You couldn't have bought another ticket to the World Bowl, and to see the way that the country embraced and loved football.
Let's talk about the NFL and their development abroad. They are always looking to improve their presence in different markets, and you, as an analyst for Sky Sports in the UK, must have seen their success, especially in England over the past decade. And we over here in Germany will likely be fortunate enough to host an NFL game next year. But all of that underlines its attempt to expand even more in this way. There has been rumors about a European NFL team likely to be resident in London. Do you think this is possible in the future?
You know what, Luca? My prediction was that we would have a team in London in 2023. That was pre-COVID.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
COVID has changed the timing, but I really truly believe there is going to be a team in Europe, and London is probably the most likely city right now. However, what's going on in Germany has to be really exciting for the German NFL fans. And it's interesting, we had the head of NFL UK, which is really where the head of really NFL, all of the European countries for right now. Brett Gosper, the president, told Michael and I that they consider that there are 3 million hardcore NFL fans in Germany. Now, we're not talking about casual fans or the fans that will just watch the games on Sunday or maybe watch the Super Bowl. We're talking about 3 million hardcore NFL fans that know the teams, have favorite teams, know the players, are invested in the National Football League. Well, obviously, that's impressive numbers to the National Football League, and they're involved in the process now, as you mentioned, of giving a host, allowing a German city to host a game. Sebastian will be involved in that process too. And the NFL is really smart. They understand that they want to have competition. They want to have it become a big deal in Germany. So you're going to see the cities that, and I'm sure Munich will want a game, Berlin will want a game, Frankfurt will want a game, Hamburg will want a game, North Rhine-Westphalen, whether it's Cologne or Düsseldorf, will want a game. They're actually going to let those cities bid on hosting the game, much like the U.S. cities bid on hosting a Super Bowl. And so the NFL understands how, I mean, if there's one thing they do understand, and that's how to make money and how to create interest. The NFL is the first league ever to establish its footprint all 12 months of the year. If you look at the NFL schedule, now I'm not talking about the game schedule, I'm talking about the yearly business schedule of the NFL. There's no time where the NFL is not in the media. There's preseason, training camp, the regular season, the playoffs, the Super Bowl, the combine, the draft, and then we're back at it again. So they recognize, and this is one of the things we learned in NFL Europe, that if you want to grow a sport, you have to be in the marketplace all the time. You can't, be there for the season, then go away and then come back again 8 months later, because it's too competitive in the international marketplace for the sporting dollar.
You're mentioning there, obviously, lads, about the hopeful and potential game in Germany next year and beyond. Now, Jeff, the first game at Wembley, if I'm correct, was the Giants. A big game at the time. I think the Giants won they won the Super Bowl that year as well. For you, do you think it might be realistic if we do get back to some sort of normality next year that you might see maybe a team play in London one week and maybe play in Berlin or Frankfurt the week after? Do you think that makes sense, or do you think that they might be looking at like a marquee matchup for that first game in Germany?
Well, I think there's two ways that the NFL is going to look at that. Number one, the easiest way to save wear and tear on the teams is to play one game, have one team play in London, then go. Let's say they give the game to Berlin and go play in Berlin the next week. Logistically, that's a much easier, travel. It's much easier financially to get that done. But I think what they're going to see, the NFL, Michael, never does things that, or tries not to do anything that has a risk of failure. Why did they bring two marquee teams to London for the first game? Well, because they wanted to make sure that that game was well attended. So I'm sure whatever city in Germany gets a game, they're going to get a marquee matchup.
Do you think that the marketing value or gain, you already said that the NFL knows how to make the money, but do you think that those points are bigger than the competitive disadvantage those teams receive by playing abroad with all the traveling, the logistics and stuff?
Well, I think that's one of the challenges that here are the challenges that I think they're dealing with and learning to deal with as they go forward in this prospect is, number one, okay, how are you going to pay the players? Are you going to pay them in euros? Are you going to pay them in pounds? Are you going to pay them in dollars? What tax structure are they going to have? And then also, is that team going to be headquartered in the United States and fly over to play games, or will it be headquartered the entire year in that host city? Again, there's pros and cons of each of those, right? And there were some players early on in this development that said, "No, I wouldn't play in London." Well, what the players have found is, after going over and playing and the word's starting to spread and the Players Association, that the players realize that would be a unique and special opportunity, whether it's London or Frankfurt or wherever. So don't worry about the fact that, and sometimes people say, well, they will never get players to play over there. That's absolutely false. They'll have plenty of guys that will want to play over there. The other issue is the one you mentioned about travel. How do you fit a 17-game schedule in such a way that team is not put at a competitive disadvantage because it has to travel, 6 or 7 times over to the mainland United States to play games? And they'll work around that with the buys and, the bye weeks and going over, and let's say you would maybe play 2 road games in a row where you'd play an East Coast team like New England, and then maybe fly to Miami or Atlanta and play a Southern team, and then come back. So you wouldn't be going back and forth every 2 weeks. And I think, the NFL will work its way around that. They're really good with their ability to schedule stadiums and make it equitable and competitive.
Jeff, working at SMU and other places, obviously with college football and the CFL, you've worked with a plethora of different NFL players. I'm not even going to start naming them because I'd be here all night, but Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, just to name 2. For you, sitting on that sofa at Sky Sports every Sunday and seeing these guys that you've worked with and mentored, what's that feeling like? Obviously, Emmanuel wins the Super Bowl in 2015, 2016. Cole Beasley's really up and coming now in a sense. He went from Dallas and he's now a real contender in Buffalo. How does that make you feel as not just somebody that's coached in the game, but somebody that's really probably been a real figure to them growing up in the game?
Well, I tell you, Michael, that's a really interesting question, because I think maybe the greatest thrill I've had in coaching is to be around players that you were involved with in one way or another. You talk about Sebastian Vollmer, finding him as a 17-year-old kid playing for the Düsseldorf Panther and helping him get to the University of Houston and get drafted in the second round, and then see him stand underneath the confetti as a Super Bowl champion. That's an incredible, incredible thrill. To watch Michael Bennett, who I recruited as a 17-year-old kid to come to Louisiana Tech and signed him, and he and I have remained friends all that time. To see him win a Super Bowl as a member of the Seattle Seahawks was an incredible thrill. To see Emmanuel win one with the Denver Broncos, I mean, it's hard to put into words just how proud that makes you feel. Not for me, but for them. Because you've watched them work. You've seen the sacrifices they've had to make. Each of those guys was a unique guy. Michael Bennett, I went to visit his home when he was a 17-year-old high school senior to talk to him about coming to Louisiana Tech. And I walked into the kitchen and he wasn't in the house. I said, "Mrs. Bennett, where's Michael?" And she said, "Oh, he's out in the backyard." And I looked out the kitchen window and he had taken his sister's mattress and tied it to a tree. And he was out in the backyard using that mattress as a blocking dummy, basically. And he was practicing his pass rush moves in the back of the house on a tree. That's the kind of thing nobody sees when they become NFL stars, and you recognize how far they had to go to get there. Going to see Sebastian Vollmer play a junior GFL game and taking 5 college coaches to go watch him, and all of a sudden you see this great big guy who's tall, skinny kid that is playing on a field and grass is 6 inches long and there's no marks on the grass and there's no people in the stands, and all of a sudden then the next time you're around him, he's protecting Tom Brady. Well, that's a pretty incredible thing. So to know how far they've had to come to get to where they are, and then to see them be in the ultimate moment in our sport is really cool.
Incredible insights there, Jeff. Let's shift over to some more coaching topics. In terms of trends, we have seen a huge shift of focus on more passing the ball over the past few years. And it's a common topic here on this podcast where we try to discuss the importance of the run game in comparison to this development. Mm-hmm. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I think here's the thing, guys. That football is a cyclical game. It's a game it's a copycat game. Whatever is successful at the time, or whoever is doing the best at the time, you see other teams and other coaches try and copy that model. So, for example, if you look at defense, in the 80s, it was the Chicago Bears with the Bear defense, and everybody tried to run the Bear defense. Then it changed, and it became the nickel defense, and they at one time they wanted all big receivers. Now everybody wants a Tyreek Hill. So it's whatever is in mode at the time is popular. But when you get down to really get down and understand this game is very, very simple, and you can go back to George Halas and Vince Lombardi and Chuck Noll and all the great coaches of the past, and it's still the same thing. You have to be able to run the ball, and you have to be able to close games out by running the ball. Now, you may not run it like we used to run it, where it was 35 times the tailback would catch the ball. But with the evolution of the rules and with the evolution of offenses, really now, guys, a lot of the short passing game, that's teams' run game, right? And then they incorporate the down the field throws and the play action and all of it. The best teams always have the most balance. Everybody talks about Kansas City and their ability to throw the ball, and there's no question that they're outstanding doing that, and Patrick Mahomes is an incredible quarterback. But they function best when they have balance in their offense, when Clyde Edwards-Helaire is, ripping off 5 and 7 yard runs. You go through any team, you look at the Rams, who have been prolific on offense in the Sean McVay era. And one of the reasons why they're so good throwing the ball and that offense is so hard to stop is the fact that you better defend the run. And when you put an eighth defender in the box, all of a sudden now you've got one-on-ones outside, and now they throw the ball. You look at the evolution of the quarterback at Tennessee, with the Titans. He was a reject at Miami. They said he can't play. Well, he goes to the Titans, and all of a sudden they're running the football and they're getting single coverage outside, and now he's able to turn into a prolific thrower. So it's all hand in glove. And the same thing's true on defense. If you can't stop the run, you're going to struggle, no matter how good your pass rushers are. So I think that it tends to go in cycles, but the real good teams, the teams that win every year, the teams that are at the top, they understand how to play complementary football, how to play situational football, and how to play good fundamental football, which is blocking and tackling.
Jeff, last question from me, man. Now, look, you'll obviously, please God, be at SoFi Stadium next February for Sky Sports. Who is going to be there, but not the favourites? What team for you do you think could be a real sleeper this year? A team that maybe not a lot of people are talking about. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say the Jaguars or somebody myself, but is there one that maybe you think that nobody's talking about them and you think they're going to explode week 1, week 2, week 3 and just go into their own?
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike, is I know that you are the founder of Broncos Europe, but I'm not going to say the Broncos.
Thanks, man.
unless you get Aaron Rodgers. But I think when you look at the league right now, I think the team that could make a real jump, and I'll tell you why I believe that, is the Rams. And I think that their quarterback situation will be much, much different with Matthew Stafford than it was with Jared Goff. I'm not anti-Jared Goff. I'm not down on Jared Goff. I'm just saying that I think Matthew Stafford elevates an already really good offense, and they have a tremendous defense. When you've got Jalen Ramsey in the back end and Aaron Donald up front and Floyd up front, you are really a good defense. I think that's a team that I think can make strides. San Francisco will bounce back. I got to believe that if they can get away from the injury bug. The Aaron Rodgers saga is going to be an interesting one to see how it plays out, because here's a guy that obviously if he stays in with the Packers, then the Packers will be a team that will be in the playoff hunt. And you got to get in the playoffs first before you get to the Super Bowl. But if he goes somewhere else, could he be the missing link, that missing ingredient that a team like the Broncos needs to make that jump? Miami should be better. I think a lot's going to come down to how Tua plays. I suspect the Patriots will be much better. I don't know, again, whether they have the quarterback play that it takes to win. Tampa has got everybody back. I think Baltimore is still, the jury's out on whether Lamar Jackson can throw the ball well enough from the pocket to win a Super Bowl. You go through those. I think Cleveland's loaded. I think Pittsburgh's going to take a little bit of a step back because of their offensive line situation. Tennessee will be better. They've got Julio Jones. That's another threat and a tremendous locker room guy. So it's going to be an outstanding year. But I think those are the teams that jump out at me as teams that I think really have a chance right now.
Okay, Jeff, I believe we're out of time. Am I correct?
Well, I tell you what, if you guys want to talk, I can talk a little bit more.
Because I get one other question in there.
All right.
There are some teams like Jaguars, Bengals, and Jets who have started something new, completely new structures. Zach Taylor is getting into his third year right now, I believe.
Right.
And question, as a coach, how much time does a coach need to implement his philosophy regarding COVID last year and all that stuff that happens? Is it possible to get things going within the season, or how much time does a coach need?
I'll tell you what, Luca, that's a great question. I mean, and it's a question that has changed. The answer to that question, has changed in the last 15 years, last 10 years, last 5 years, maybe. Coach Vermeil used to always say to us that it takes 3 years before you can expect to see the results of your work. And his point was that the first year, you're just learning the situation. You're just learning how the building works, how the people inside the building think, how, what the veterans are. I mean, you're just getting to know the situation. Then the second year you make moves to change it. The third year you should start to see some results. But the reality of it is they don't wait that long anymore. These owners who are spending, billions of dollars on these teams, they want results right now. They're highly competitive guys. So for coaches, it's less and less time and more important that you get results quickly. And so when you look at what a Sean McVay did with the Rams, that even makes the process more difficult, because everybody wants, and this is important for our fans to understand this. When a guy goes in like Sean McVay and he has success, takes over a team that was bad, and then all of a sudden makes a huge jump, all the other owners who are going to be looking for coaches in the offseason, they go, well, go find me the next Sean McVay. Well, you got to remember, that's a very rare occurrence, right? And so you saw how when Sean McVay had that success, all of a sudden a Zach Taylor, gets a job really as a young guy. The guy in Detroit, very much, the guy in Green Bay, very much the same guy. Everybody was looking for that young, hot offensive coach. Now, I think we're starting to see that it does take a little bit of time, and you got to be patient, and you got to have a program. You got to have a vision, a blueprint, and then you got to act on that vision and blueprint every day. It'll be interesting to see what happens in Jacksonville. It will be interesting to see, what happens with the Jets. I think both Jacksonville and the Jets will be much better next year. As a matter of fact, when I talk to my friends who are in general managers positions in the National Football League, they really felt like the Jets or the Jaguars were the two best jobs in the offseason because they had the most draft capital to go out and improve their football team.
Okay. Thank you again so much. Vielen Dank an der Stelle. It has been a pleasure having you on as a special guest, like I said, for our anniversary episode. And it was an experience. Thank you so much.
Vielen Dank und tschüss.
Tschüss, genau.
Thanks, Luca. I appreciate it very much. Michael, thank you.
Take care.
All right.